with the meeting. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our April Roundtable. So for those who may be new to the call and don't know me, my name is Kimberly Morris. I'm a planner in the Southeast region and project manager over the Bronzeville neighborhood. So as a reminder, these roundtable meetings are our monthly convening of local stakeholders around the Invest Southwest initiative. Also, as another reminder, these meetings are recorded. And starting on April 1st, DPD had been posting all old roundtable videos on our website. So this one, along with previous roundtable recordings, will be made available for viewing on DPD's website. So jumping into our agenda for this evening, we want to give a quick review of Invest Southwest, as we always do, and then include a recap of the RFP process, really taking us through how we've gotten to this point so far, and then jumping into the Bronzeville RFP summaries that we have received. As we announced last month, we have received three RFP responses. And so we'll go through each of those responses, giving basically a high-level summary of those. And then we'll outline the next steps for evaluation and what that looks like for this process. So again, Invest Southwest is really an unprecedented community improvement initiative that was created under Mayor Lori Lightfoot to marshal more than $750 million in public funding, while coordinating really across multiple city departments, community organization, corporate partners, in order to revitalize and reactivate 12 key commercial corridors across 10 neighborhoods on the city's south and west sides. As a part of the larger Invest Southwest initiative, these neighborhood roundtables are intended really to be open meetings consisting of neighborhood representatives from city agencies, neighborhood organizations, and the automatic offices that will help advance kind of those local goals that the community sets forth through this broad kind of cross-disciplinary approach in which we look to leverage basically the insight and the wisdom of the community as a resource in how we move forward with these development goals. So before we again jump into our main goal for this evening, which is reviewing the RFP summaries, we really want to take a step back and go through how we got to this process. As you all know, you've been here with us since September, since we kicked off this process for the RFP request for proposals for 449 East 47th Street. But just as a reminder of what really our goals were for these RFPs. So they were really a key component to that Invest Southwest initiative and the revitalization strategy that DPD was implementing. These documents were really designed to go beyond what would traditionally be a part of an RFP in order to solicit development proposals for city-owned land. So we really had a very extensive community engagement process that drawed out basically the community's visions and goals, drawing from past plans, and then that 3-month neighborhood community engagement strategy that we implemented, which included your participation here on roundtables, in addition to stakeholder interviews and one-on-one engagement with community stakeholders. So these RFPs really suggest a menu of programmatic uses and help illustrate what we would call design excellence through urban principles, and really providing a high-level financial feasibility for necessary financial incentives to produce these developments. So again, this is going beyond what was traditionally provided in RFPs of the past, and really being intentional about the community engagement and getting the community's feedback and as far as what we wanted to see on these sites. So again, this community 3-month process that we went through, and the engagement process, we were able to develop the following concept that was included in the RFP. So our development scenario that we drafted in the RFP called for 30 units of mixed use housing with approximately 13,000 square feet of commercial and or retail uses on the ground floor. We foresaw the market being stable enough to support for sale houses at this site, again with ground level commercial and addressing parking somewhere in the site via tucked under parking. And through that series of community engagement, we were able to pull out some of these community priorities. Again, walkability is something that both the roundtables again addressed, and that we saw stated time and time again in past plans that we reviewed. Enhanced streetscapes, community safety, diversity of retail goods and services, and really a celebration of community. This is something that was a real sticking point, again, in all the community surveys that we did, in all of the one-on-one interviews that were conducted, in addition to the roundtable discussions that we had. These priorities came out time and time again, and we really felt that it was important to address these in the RFP, and that the respondents specifically look at these issues and respond to these specific priorities. So our RFP timeline. So we kind of, again, went through how we've come, how far we've come in this process. And so we again kind of want to break this down even further to just show the level of engagement that we've had over the past 3 months. So step one was the development of the RFP. So we kicked this off in September with a forum such as this, in which we explained this process. We introduced the site itself, and then got community feedback on that. The next step was the community visioning process. So if you all remember, and for those who may not have been a part of that conversation, we were assisted by a pro bono team, which led us through a community visioning session, which was really able to tease out some of those priorities. The pro bono team really looked and analyzed the community plans of the past, and was able to identify, pull those out, and figure out were these still priorities, and how we were really able to move forward with those priorities. And so from that visioning session, in addition to some one-on-one stakeholder interviews, the development team was able to craft and present a development concept in late October. Again, looking to get community feedback and refinement before the RFP was released in the end of November. So step two was a 4-month process, and while these responses were being developed, we basically had monthly check-ins with the community to give you updates on the timeline, to give you updates on what this process would look like, specifically around the evaluations of the the proposals and how the community can be involved in those evaluations and how much participation was needed from after the respondents' responses came in. So again, this is where we are now at the evaluation period. So in step 3 of this process, DPD has prepared these high-level summaries that we are prepared to present to you tonight. Next on that will be an evaluation kickoff of the evaluation committee. And this we anticipate happening at the beginning of next month in May, so actually next week. And so these evaluations will be done per technical expertise. So for example, our financial incentives team will be reviewing each development proposal for its financial feasibility. And I can go through, and I'll actually go through in a later slide who's on these teams. But basically, each team member will be looking and evaluating these proposals based on their technical expertise. And then after that, we know we have our developer presentations that will happen come May 18th, followed by another evaluation committee meeting, and then a selection and announcement to happen in late June. So again, just to be clear about who is on this evaluation committee, there will be members of DPD, the Department of Housing, Department of Transportation, AIS, and the Mayor's Office. So DPD will be looking obviously for planning and design. Our financial incentives team will be looking at the financial feasibility of each of these developments. We have zoning, who will obviously be making sure that these developments are correctly zoned, and if not, suggest the appropriate zoning. And then from a sustainability standpoint, we'll be looking at this as well. All of the proposals include housing, so we will have members of the Department of Housing looking at the ARO requirements and making sure all of those are met with each of these proposals. The Department of Transportation will also be looking at site plans and traffic flows for these proposals. AIS, which is our environmental arm, kind of consultants, will be looking at this from an environmental standpoint. And then we have the Mayor's Office, again, looking from the lens of neighborhood and economic development, equity, and community wealth building. So we want to get into this. As we announced before, we have 3 development proposals that we will be reviewing tonight. They will all be at a high level. So we actually provided these summaries to you, I believe, a couple weeks ago for your review, but we want to go over them again. So we will be looking at the development and design team, providing a overview of the program for each development, and then design. And again, the development teams will be presenting in a webinar format on May 18th, Tuesday, May 18th, and will be available for questions and answers for the community. Okay, so we want to start off with the Legacy District. The Legacy District is comprised of KMW Communities, LG Development, Bronzeville Community Partners, CIBC, and the MB team. They are also led by the design team of Volume 1 Design, along with Monica Chada of Civic Projects and Landon Bone Baker, Omni Workshop, and Seek Design. We did want to highlight, in addition to the design and development team, a couple of the community partners and proposed tenants of this development, so I won't go through them all, but just want to pay special attention to how this team has structured their team, basically, in incorporating the different community partners and the tenants that they are looking to bring to the site. So this team is proposing a 6-story mixed-use commercial building with covered parking. There will be 2 floors of culinary flex space and 4 floors of housing. There's 25 total proposed units, and 5 of those will be on-site affordable housing. The building will feature communal rooftop gardens and a rooftop farm, along with a street-level neighborhood plaza. The total project cost for this development is $19.4 million. So the team has envisioned the 47th Street corridor over the next decade, and identified opportunities to densify the corridor through infill development. So as you can see, they have diagrammed slides 6F is the RFP site, but they also took the time to diagram where the opportunities lie for future developments along this corridor. So identifying figure 5F, which is directly across the street, 3F, again, which is another city-owned site that is across the street from the RFP site, and really showing what this corridor could look like over the next 5 to 10 years with intentional infill development. So they also provided these detailed diagrams of their site, specifically highlighting the neighborhood plaza, which can be seen at the top left corner, which shows the opening of the corner and creating a relationship with the plaza that they intend to be across the street, and the Great Migration, what they're calling the Great Migration Plaza. At your top right corner, you have the creation of an urban ag rooftop farm, which is a semi-public rooftop farm and allows more daylight to enter the plaza. In this middle tile here, you have an enhancement of a public space with the colonnade that they're providing, which is activating kind of that street frontage, providing a coverage for the openings of their ground floor retail, but kind of circulating and providing more a larger public plaza in between this neighborhood plaza, the colonnade, and then the Great Migration Plaza across the street. And then lastly, the Skyline Terrace, which is a rooftop garden, and then again, more terrace space, open space that allows for views of downtown. So moving on to the renderings that the team has provided. This view is again showing the corner plaza and the colonnade, which again are creating these open spaces that are walkable along 47th Street. This is a pedestrian view of the same space, showing basically kind of the spill out space for open food markets, large seating areas for casual sitting, dining. This is the Skyline Terrace, which is adjacent to a roof deck and an activity room located on the 6th floor of the building. So again, providing those skyline views. This is the rooftop farm, which is located on the 2nd floor, where members of the community are invited to utilize this space. So any questions or comments on this first one before we move on to the next? If not, I will just move on to the next proposal, which is the Village. So the Village is comprised, development team is comprised of Millhouse LLC and Imagine Group. So in that team is Melanie Jeffries of Millhouse and Tori Barrett with the Imagine Group will be the principals and leads on this development, along with JGMA, who is the design lead. Again, want to highlight some of the community partners that I'm sure you guys recognize on this specific team, and then some of the proposed tenants that they are looking to bring to the site. So the Village is proposing a 10-story mixed-use development, including 82 units of multifamily units. 2 floors of this building will be dedicated to commercial and retail uses that they're looking to fill with local Chicago-based Black-owned businesses, in addition to some national chains and business incubators. This development will include an outdoor courtyard and theater space, a sit-down restaurant, an incubator, fast casual dining and pop-up market space, community sanctuaries and gathering spaces, in addition to medical and office space, e-transportation, biking facilities, and then a rooftop terrace. So this development team envisioned this development in 3 phases. So in addition to the RFP site, they are looking to acquire both 418 and 448 East 47th Street as a part of this development proposal. So the massings that are shown here demonstrates that 3-phased approach. So the development concept for the RFP site really provides a varied articulation of the building, and as demonstrated in these massings here. So the development team was looking to both punch and carve space on the ground floor in order to activate and allow for more open space. extending the building at the corner to enhance the pedestrian experience, and then lifting the roof line at the corner at the west end of the building to, again, provide more articulation of that building. And here are more renderings of that building. So this building is a total of 167,000 square feet. This is the pedestrian view looking south, showing the two-story ground floor retail in addition to the open courtyard. This is another pedestrian view showing the 360 dome mural that they intend being in that as a part of that courtyard. And then lastly, another nighttime aerial showing the site. Any specific questions on this development? Or we can.
I have a question on this. Are those folding walls there, and at the arena in the middle, is there any way to keep the weather from changing and affecting the idea of it?
For the middle portion?
Yes, the middle portion.
Yeah, so it's not 100% clear on this rendering, but the description of this space is that it will be enclosed. So I think the details of that enclosure is a good thing that we may want to ask the development team is when they come to our next meeting, just to clarify what that enclosure looks like. Because right now it's showing that it is open.
So are the actual folding walls in cave folding walls there?
I don't believe there are.
Hey, Kim, go back a screen. Go back a slide. Show one more. Yeah, that one. Okay.
Was that Anthony who spoke?
No, I believe that was Patrick Brutus.
So do you know the walls are folding inwards or outwards to give that effect, which would take a lot of steel to support the walls? I'd like to hear someone comment on it if you have an architect in the group.
I'm not sure if we have anybody here that will want to comment specifically on that, but I do think that is a good observation. And to your point, this building is made of steel. I'm trying to get the exact building materials here, but it is mostly a steel framed building.
Okay.
But again, your point about just the cost of that, the structure, what that will take to pull that off, I think are very good observations and things we want to bring up in our next session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if there are no other questions here, and we can come back at the end if anybody wanted to make comments about feelings in general, but I'll just go through the last one, and then we can circle back to get people's initial thoughts and feedback on these three proposals. So our last proposal is the 47th and Vincennes Partnership. So just to note, one approach that this development team has is they are really looking to the community for input on the name of this proposal. So they were intentional about leaving that open because they wanted to get community feedback on what they even wanted to name it. So that was their approach in this. Their design teams are Revere Properties. So we have Lee Reed from Revere Properties, Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives. We have David Doig, Loop Capital Markets, and then the Gashard Project. Another element of their design team, of their design concepts, is that they have three different kind of leads on their design team. So we have Brook Architecture, Wrap Architecture, and then Site Design Group. Again, want to draw your eyes to the community partners that they are working with, again, which is Gallery Gouchard, and then some of the proposed tenants that they have. And just to note, for all of these proposals, the proposed tenants that we have listed here are businesses that have provided letters of interest to these proposals. So getting into the proposal itself, this development team is proposing the development of 3 mixed-use commercial residential sites. So in addition to the RFP site, they are looking to acquire both 418 and 448 East 47th Street that are on the north side of 47th Street. So building A, which is the RFP site, will be a total of 46 residential units. I'm sorry, the total number of residential units in all 3 buildings is 46 units. 30 of these will be in the RFP building, and those will be rental. And then the remaining 16 will be split up between the 2 north side north buildings on 47th Street, and both of those will be condominiums. The RFP site, which is labeled here as Building A, is 17,000 square feet of ground floor retail. It includes a garden lobby and a rooftop terrace. Building B, which we will, I'll flash to in a second, is approximately 6,000 square feet of ground floor retail. And then they envision office space on the 2nd floor, and then 3rd and 4th floors of condominiums. And then building C is about 5,000 square feet of ground floor retail. And they envision this space being used as a restaurant/food hall. They have 12,000 square feet of what they're calling an atrium, which is an event space that they are looking to activate, in addition to, again, 8 condominiums on the site. So again, this is the rendering of the RFP building itself on the south side of 47th Street. And then I will flash to what was proposed. So this is, again, what is proposed on the north side of 47th Street at 416 East 47th. Again, looking to do ground floor retail, 2nd floor office, and then 2 floors above of condominiums. And then this 3rd space, again, more retail. They are specifically looking to bring a restaurant food hall or some kind of culinary use to this space. They want this to be more so of an event space on the second floor, and then in addition to more live workspaces on the third and fourth floors. And then the total project cost for this development is $47 million. So this is again the site plan. They again are doing a phased approach to this development, starting off with the RFP site, and then showing plans for parking on a offsite parking on a city-owned lot that is just south of the RFP site on Vincennes. So I believe that is the last slide. I do want to just stop and open it up for questions before I go into the criteria, just to get people's general thoughts, feedback on what we've seen this evening. We can kind of go back and flash forward if anybody has something specific that they wanted to go back and review. I do see we have a lot of comments in the chat. But I don't know if anybody wants to just openly kind of voice some general thoughts here about what we've seen tonight.
Kim, Lennox, good evening.
Good evening, Lennox. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good.
Good. A couple of thoughts. I think these are all wonderful presentations, and a lot of these folks I know, and I'm sure others on this call know as well. So I'm pretty proud of the work that folks have put in here. When I first saw the responses, I was like, wow, these are all over, kind of all over the place, from something that would be more cost effective versus something that's really bold and expensive. And so I'm just wondering, relative to a couple of thoughts I have, are you able to comment on the city's appetite for deep investment here? Because I think that you really have some three unique approaches, three unique visions, and each one has a different price tag. And I would imagine that price tag has to be evaluated against yield, right? Yield of benefits by way of the number of residential units. Are the residential units rental, or are they for sale? So that people can have, buy into the future of Bronzeville's growth. The commercial, will the commercial square footage in total for the RFP site? And that's the other thing we got to decide. I mean, to what degree do you expand the lens of evaluation beyond the core purpose of the RFP? The core purpose of the RFP is specific to one site. I think it's important that all of the sites in the area be considered, but to what degree do you sort of isolate that part of the conversation and give more specific, narrow attention to the site itself in the RFP?
Sorry, I was on mute. So I know one of the questions you had was about kind of the
city's appetite.
Yeah, so I think that is something that is definitely going to be going into our criteria. So something that we're analyzing is what are the, and it's actually on this slide here, but what is the public ask that's being requested versus the total project cost, and does that make sense? So you know, and then this is not an example that is in any of these, but would it make sense for us to provide 50% of the total project cost for a development versus another one that may be asking for 30%? Again, that is not the numbers that are represented for these developments specifically, but just to throw out some kind of ballparks. But those are the type of things that we will be weighing when we kind of ask this third question here. Is it economically feasible?
Yeah, and I want to encourage you, you know, for those of us who are buying materials today, we are clearly facing this issue. Commodity prices are just out of this world, man. The numbers, the cost of construction materials right now because of the pandemic and the disruption it has caused to supply chains. And, you know, I was just on the phone with a supplier this evening. We're not sure if this is going to stabilize this year or this thing is still going to be going into next year. So if you're talking $54 million today, you're really talking about more than that when you talk about, you know, things getting started, when it's time for the team to buy steel. Whatever steel price assumption they have today, it's going to be much higher tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is Robert Johnson. I just want to echo that I think all three of the proposals are fantastic, and I don't want to, you know, add anything to what was said in terms of the relative cost. But I guess what I'm looking at and would love some input on is, or add as an additional criteria, which of these proposals we think might be able to have a catalytic impact on the community. I know usually when I talk to developers, they oftentimes focus on the density and the need for housing to stimulate economic development. But when I look at our community, I mean, we have the last numbers that I saw was roughly almost $1 billion, if not more, retail gap. So I'm also equally interested in how we're able to attract businesses to our community to address the leakage of dollars that go out of our community because we don't have the businesses that the residents want and would patronize if they existed. So that's one of the things that, at least from the proposals that I've seen, I'm extremely interested in looking at what the retail capacity is and the appetite for them to promote local small businesses, particularly Black businesses. And then, you know, there could be some opportunity for some national chains, but I'm less concerned about those, but definitely interested in trying to see what opportunities there are for entrepreneurship to flourish within our community.
No, all very good points, Robert. And again, those are all things that will be judging these proposals against. Their kind of commitments to promoting the local small businesses, how they're looking at local hiring, how it can be a catalyst. And do we feel like this is a catalytic development that would spur development in other places along that corridor? So again, very good points. And these are all things that we'll be scoring these presentations against, and then we'll hopefully kind of get more answers to these questions when we have our developer presentation on the 18th. I do see another hand raised. Turquoia Wilson.
Good afternoon. This is Turquoia Wilson from Bronzeville Chamber of Commerce. And my question is, what percentage of these businesses will be for-profit versus will there be space for nonprofits as well?
Yeah, I think those are really good questions, Turquoia. And I don't want to misspeak for the development teams. I think tonight we want to kind of focus on maybe questions around the process. I do think that is probably a question that would probably be best answered by the development teams. I do know all three proposals stated that they wanted small businesses in these most of their retail and commercial spaces. They all said that they may have had office space that was dedicated within these developments, but I think that is a great question that we probably want to defer to our later developer presentation on the 18th.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I know we can't get really specific, and I want to leave those specific questions for our presentation in a couple of weeks on the 18th, but are there any other general comments that people feel like they want to share about these proposals?
Actually, this is Robert again. I had a process question that I meant to ask as part of my initial comment. We're one of the community partners that's part of the one of the proposals. We're not going to be, do we need to recuse ourselves from any type of discussion with regard to, because I don't think the way it sounds, it doesn't sound like we're going to actually have a vote on it. It's more input. So, but that was a question that came up because I know a number of folks who are part of the roundtable are also part of organizations that may have an interest in some of the proposals.
That is actually a very good question. We do have that unique problem that a lot of the participants on the roundtables are a part of the development teams. I think we're actually lucky to have that problem, but that probably is something I want to circle back on. I don't know if we've had anybody from a previous round had any kind of experience with a roundtable member having to recuse themselves, but that's something I can look into and get the answer to you for that, Robert.
Okay, thank you.
Donna Feaster, will they bring price points for all their different developments for their units? Because sometimes that's real important, because affordable in one person's mind is not affordable in another person's mind. And considering what's going on in the Bronzeville, North Kenwood, Oakland conservation area, our price points are steadily going up. And then with materials going up, those price points might not look like what we think they will look like.
Mm-hmm. Nope, that's a great point. Most of these have included price points within their proposals. And so we'll ask specifically for those development teams to talk about the price points of these units, because again, to your point, affordable means different things in different areas. And so I think that is something that's important that we should address when we talk through to the at the development proposal presentations. I'm sorry. Okay, I see Rhonda has her hand up.
Yes, I do.
Hey,
Good
Rhonda.
evening. Good evening. I've got a couple questions. One that I put into the chat, so I'll say my questions and then go back on mute so you can respond. Will there be community input in the scoring process? It's my understanding that at some of the other roundtables, in the percentage of the scoring, there was a community input piece, and how does that work? Because it's not displayed here. That's one question. The second question is, before the May 18th or in preparation for that May 18th review, by any chance, will the department be providing any type of a metrics where we are allowed to see the standard components of each project side by side versus in the developer's presentation. So those are my two questions. My comment, just that any party that is participating in one of the RFPs looking for community input should be recused from the discussion of the input as it relates. That just kind of makes sense to me, so I need to say that. And third, whichever party is successful, please know that Quiet Communities Development Corporation stands extremely excited and ready to assist with supporting on retail development. In the concept, in the question that was laid, that there is a difficulty in identifying and securing retailers for spaces in our community. We've got plenty of retailers looking for good quality space and a program that supports them from the start to finish. So we look forward and welcome the ability to work with any of the development teams. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, no, thanks for that, Ron.
Alderman
Alderman, did you want to speak before?
Yeah, I wanted to chime in and respond to one of Rhonda's questions. Oops. I have asked the department to put together a side-by-side comparison of all three proposals along various criteria, which I asked to be done before the 18th, which I will ask the department to share with the roundtable. So I know that's in process.
Yes, so we, like the Alderman said, we do have a matrix kind of thing that we are putting together, trying to figure out what the best way would be to share that publicly, if that but I think one of the things we try to do with the summaries is really give you kind of a visual of where things was, where each of those proposals stood. So it wasn't really in matrix form, but it was more visual. But again, that summary was an initial kind of way for the community to kind of look side by side and compare those development proposals. Again, we are working on a matrix. We do have to circle back to see if that matrix will be public facing and shared with the public, specifically with the roundtable, and how do we go about doing that. So I will circle back to you specifically, Rhonda, with that answer once I get that. And then in regards to your first question about community input, and since we've been on this slide for a minute, everybody's kind of had a chance to look this over to see what the city's evaluation criteria is. So kind of the three buckets that we have here. The first one is, does the proposal reflect the community's vision and build community wealth? So if you look at how we break that down, community feedback and the survey results is a part of that first bucket that we are evaluating these proposals against. So community feedback in the form of participation in that developer presentation, and then the survey that comes after that presentation. So again, once we have that presentation, DPD will send out both a link to the videos of those presentations in addition to a survey where the community can weigh in on what it thinks about each of the proposals. I don't have those kind of survey questions, but it'll be along the lines of these buckets. So how well has the development team put together community partnership? How does it address equity? How does it address kind of local hiring of small businesses? So along those lines are some of the things that we'll be asking the community for their input on, in addition to just general feedback on the appropriateness of the site, how well it aligns with the vision that we laid out in the RFP and building that community wealth. So I hope that answers your question, Rhonda. But then going on to the second bucket that we are weighing these proposals against is the proposal example of professional competence. So looking at the expertise of the teams, how committed they are to design excellence, how well they responded to the community priorities through their design, and how innovative and creative they are. And then the third bucket, again, is the proposal financially feasible? So again, looking at that total project cost, looking at how much city assistance that they are looking for, and then weighing that against kind of the financial qualifications that they lay out in their pro forma. I do see another hand up. Jerome, you had a question? Oh, I see a couple hands up. Oh, you are still on mute. Oop, can you unmute yourself, Jerome? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
So maybe he is having, okay, we can hear you now.
Okay. Can you bring up, before you leave, a picture of the 47th Street Vincennes Partnership LLC, in particular the one building A? I'm trying to figure the people standing on top of something, two people, and I can't figure out what they're standing on. And I think maybe you have a better picture than what I have here.
Okay, I can do that. So we can go back.
That's A, building A.
Okay. Did anybody have, before we kind of go back, did anybody have any questions on this this evaluation criteria? Okay. So I'll hop back to building A. And so what I believe you are referring to, and it may be a little blocked here, is this rooftop kind of deck that they have here. I believe this is 2 floors of what they're calling kind of flex space. And then they do have a rooftop terrace on this second floor here.
Is that an outside staircase going up and they're standing there?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But it kind of blocks the thing here, but we can confirm more details about that design.
All right, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. I did see your hand was up, Wendy. Did you still have a question?
I put it in the chat because you said you had a lot of hands up. I was wondering,
Okay, no problem.
in the matrix that the alderman has requested, can you add a TIF analysis? Ask Chip to list out how much is in the TIF, what increment is available, and then for each proposal, how much are they asking for and what that percentage is?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I know that's a good analysis and probably the exact thing that our financial incentives team will be looking at when they are reviewing these proposals, so.
Right, but I think it's good information for us as the roundtable to have as well.
Yeah, Wendy, in the matrix I asked for, the last part of your question in terms of the developer, the total development cost and the percentage of financial assistance requested. That I did ask for. I did not ask for the analysis, the TIF analysis on the availability of increment. But
Right.
that's an excellent question.
Right, because they can't have what we don't have.
Yeah, if it's not there, it's not there.
And then my second question is, and you may have said this already, when it is time for, on the 18th, will we be able to ask the developers questions? How much time have you allocated for us to ask questions?
Yes, so I can actually go to our last slide, which is just next steps. But during the developer session, you will have time to ask each development team questions. So they will prepare like a short video. I will leave about 8 minutes. And then after that, this roundtable is able to ask questions. So it will be in a webinar format. So we are working with the Alderman's office. We'll be reaching out to QCDC to spread the word about this developer presentation, because essentially we want to get as many voices as possible on this webinar. And so the community will have the opportunity to ask questions in the chat, make comments, things like that. But the roundtable participants themselves will have the opportunity to unmute and ask questions directly to the developer teams. I don't have an exact breakdown of the times, but I want to say it's at least 20 minutes-ish per development team. But prior to, I can send out what that breakdown looks like, so we know exactly.
Thank you.
Kim, I don't recall the answer to this question. I know that some names were given to the commissioner to have community members on the evaluation committee. Where is that?
Yeah, so I think what we kind of conferred with law, both just due to the fact that we weren't able to do that in previous rounds. And I think that's kind of what weighed most heavily on that decision. And I'm looking to see who is on the development teams. Apologize for me flashing all the way back to the beginning. But I think the consensus is to have, again, these core members on that evaluation team. We do want to just stress that there's kind of plenty of space and opportunity for the community to provide feedback. Again, we can't stress enough just how critical both attendance to the actual developer presentation itself, but responses to that survey that goes out. Just can't stress how important that is. That is our main way to gauge the community's feelings about these development proposals.
Does that include the corridor manager?
For which?
The corridor manager being on the evaluation committee.
So as it states and stands right now, the people listed here are the ones that will be on that evaluation committee. And I don't know if, and I'm looking to see if he is still here and could maybe provide a better answer. I don't know if Jim is still on the line.
Yeah, Kim, I am still here, and you,
okay.
you did answer it accurately. This is the evaluation committee, and this committee is going to be looking at things like feasibility, financial feasibility, and capacity. The actual surveys and the Q&A session with the community when the developers do their presentations is where we're going to get and gather the data and information that we're hearing from the community.
This is Yvette Warren from QCDC. I apologize. If I can ask a question, please. Jim, will we have opportunity to give input into the specific questions for the survey in advance as the corridor manager so that we could ensure that we're flushing out the information needed?
I think that would be extremely helpful. Yes.
So we'll look forward to you guys.
We certainly would love to circle back with you and get those details. We want to make that session, and particularly the survey, be as productive as we possibly can make it. So yes, we certainly want to hear about those questions.
Excellent. Then I will look forward to you reaching out to Rhonda tomorrow.
Okay.
I just want to say, Jim, that I think it is not in the community's best interest to not be represented on the evaluation committee. I have continued to push this with the department. And as far as it sounds to me, the law department's position is actually a crock, but would like to understand more about what their position is.
Understood, Alderman. And we can, if we need to get, the law department on a call with you, we certainly would be happy to do that.
Okay. So I know I flashed through this pretty quickly and we're a little over 6 o'clock, but is there any other questions, comments, concerns that anybody has? Again, I just want to go over next steps.
Yeah, I just, if I may.
Who's speaking?
It's Alderman King.
Oh, hi, Alderman. How are you?
Yeah, I would like to defer to Alderman Dell a lot because this is in her ward, although it's really adjacent to ours and we'll benefit from it. And I know there are a number of community members in both wards as well as other wards, so they don't really look at that. But I can't overemphasize the short-sightedness of not having community members on an evaluation committee. We're doing it with major projects. We're doing it, Michael Reese. We're doing it with the South Loop project downtown. I don't understand why it would be any different here. There's also a really good matrix that's already set up. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, where all of the things that a number of people brought up, are outlined in a couple of developments that have had RFPs. So, it's hard for me to support a process that doesn't genuinely include the community. So.
Oh, thank you for that, Alderman King. Jim, I don't know if you had any kind of final.
No, I understand
both.
I understand both Alderman's sentiment. And again, if we need to circle back with our law department in order to get any additional clarification, we're happy to do that.
Yes, you need to circle back with clarification, Jim. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I think that'll be a good next step. So I'll make sure that happens. Okay, so that is, we're a little over 6 o'clock. So thank you everybody for hanging in there. That is all we have for this evening. Again, just for another reminder, May 18th at 6 p.m. That's a Tuesday evening. We will be having our developer presentations, which is a public meeting. So we're really In addition to the people who are normally here at these roundtables, we're looking to get the word out to as many community residents as possible. So DPD has already sent out email notifications for people to register for that event, but we will be really looking for community members, community partners to spread the word about this public meeting that we have coming up. So in addition to kind of those email blasts, we do plan to do some flyering specifically for residents and businesses that are around the RFP site itself. So that will be coming in the next couple of weeks leading up to the presentation. And then from there, we will have the community survey, which will be open for a couple of weeks after the presentation itself. So again, we'll be looking to do email blasts of that, those videos, links, in addition to the survey itself to get more community feedback. We will be circling back to this roundtable to review that feedback and review the responses that were received from the survey, and then looking to make an announcement of the selection of the winning team in late June. Yes, I see your comment in the chat, Rhonda. Once that JPEG of the flyer is finalized, not only will we send it to you for distribution, but we'll send it to everybody on the roundtable, because we can use all of you guys' support in spreading the word about this. So yes, that would definitely be done. So if there are no more thoughts or questions, I want to thank you guys this evening for your participation. Again, your time is always valued to us. We really appreciate your commitment to this process. It is a working process, but we are trying to do right by the community, the best by Bronzeville. And so we are excited about what's to come and looking forward to working with you again as we finalize the winner of this RFP. So thank you again to everybody, and good night. We will be seeing you in a couple weeks on May 18th at that developer presentation.
Have a great evening and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.